There's kind of a misconception in my industry, Paul, that franchising is only about McDonald's and French fries, and I work with brands that are in 75 different industries, and
Hmm.
I work with people from throughout the world, right? And so it's not like, oh my gosh, one brand specifically is an amazing one. I can tell you that most people that are looking to emigrate to the United States, the kind of brands that are most conducive to getting that visa are things that aren't very glamorous.
Welcome to the Thriving Immigrant Podcast with Paul Adeyeye. This is where we share powerful stories of resilience, reinvention, transformation, and success. So, whether you're a new immigrant, navigating a new life, or an aspiring entrepreneur looking for inspiration, this podcast is for you. Join me as we dive into real conversations with incredible individuals who have turned challenges into opportunities. Let's learn, grow, and thrive together. Cheers to a life of abundance. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Thriving Immigrant Podcast. If you're listening to me for the first time, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you subscribed. If you're a returning listener, I really appreciate it. But please subscribe and share this episode with someone. Now, I'm really pumped about today's conversation. For the first time on this podcast, we are going to be talking about franchising. And I've got an amazing guest on the show. He's an expert when it comes to franchising. A lot of you have asked me, how can we participate in franchising? And so many questions. And I'm so excited to introduce my guest, Adam Goldman, who is an expert in that space. Adam is a franchise coach and consultant. He's the author of the book, The Franchisee Lifestyle. He knows so much about franchising, is based in the US. And I can't wait to dive into this conversation with Adam. But before we go on, I just want to say welcome, Adam, to the Thriving Immigrant Podcast.
Thank you so much, Paul. So nice to see you today.
Nice. I'm really excited. It's like we've got a lot to talk about. But before I go into the conversation, I checked your profile. I see that you have a background in sales, and I'm curious, how did you find yourself in franchising? Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure, sure. So, look, I lived abroad for a long time, and I came back to the United States after graduating from Berkeley in California. And I did some real estate investment. And then I'm aging myself, but noticed in 2008 that my deals were kind of drying up after a couple of years, and also realized that I'm the kind of person that's great at following process, but not as good at creating process from scratch. And so
Hmm.
in 2010, I decided to invest in an office cleaning master franchise in Houston, Texas, and that went really, really well for 8 years plus, and had an unsolicited offer from my neighbor in order to sell my business. And it was really a great exit, and I'm a success story. And now what I do is I'm here to help people that are looking to invest in franchises. I'm here to connect them with the right brand so they can replicate the same sort of success that I've had in my life.
Hmm. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So, how long did you said you operated a business for 8 years before exiting?
8.5 years, yes.
Okay. So, did you have the exit strategy in plan when you started?
I did not. I didn't know what I was going to do, right? I started this thing. I'm like, okay, I just wanted it to succeed. And look, I had a coach to connect me with this brand as well. The idea is to kind of find a really good match. And I succeed, like you said, at business development. And I just needed a system around me. And this was the right fit for me when it came to that. Other candidates that I work with have different other skill sets, and different brands are more suited to them.
Hmm. Yeah. I've also been in sales, and I would say that business development and selling skill is one essential skill in everything you do in life. Like that knowledge and that skill will always be helpful. So, my first question to you, or my next question would be in franchising, I understand that there are multiple industries that play in that space. There could be fast food. I think that's the most common one to me.
Yep.
Retail, maybe cleaning, like you mentioned. which of these industries do you think are the most promising right now?
So, great question again. Look, what I can tell you is this, that there's kind of a misconception in my industry, Paul, that franchising is only about McDonald's and French fries. And I work with brands that are in 75 different industries. And
Hmm.
I work with people from throughout the world, right? And so it's not like, oh my gosh, one brand specifically is an amazing one. I can tell you that most people that are looking to emigrate to the United States, the kind of brands that are most conducive to getting that visa are things that aren't very glamorous.
Hmm.
And that frankly are not that expensive. We're talking about a total investment of about relatively about 125 or $150,000 all in. And we're talking about these service businesses, things that are very unglamorous, um, like painting or things such as maid services or just things that are services that people might not have thought of that are, wait a second here, this is a tried and true brand that might be here in 5, 10, or 20 years in the future because it's a need to have, not a nice to have.
Hmm. That's quite enlightening. And you are very spot on talking about focusing on glamorous industries. Like, if you didn't mention that, whenever I think about franchising, the first thing that comes to my head is McDonald's and the like. So I love that you made that point. Can you walk us through the process? Because you talked about money now, which is very important. Like you said, between 100 to 125K is a good amount to start with. C- can you walk us through the basic process of trying to set up a franchise in the US?
Got it. So let's divide this into two buckets, right? So first bucket, Paul, are people that are already in the United States, that are already green card holders or permanent residents. And that's great. It means that their options are a lot more. There are a lot more options than someone that's looking to emigrate to the United States on a specific visa. And I work with brands that are in 75 industries. It could be quite inexpensive, meaning all-in investment. There is financing available, typically for American citizens or permanent residents, an SBA loan or 401k rollover, whatever that might be, or financing from the franchise brand. And it might be $125,000 all in on the low end and go up from there in investments. We can talk about that later. But the second bucket are people that are looking to emigrate from outside of the United States, right?
Hmm.
And the way that process works is you raise your hand. I believe there are over 100 countries, including Canada, that are treaty countries. By the way, people think, oh my gosh, Donald Trump is the president of the United States. He doesn't want immigrants anymore. That is totally untrue. In fact, this is the kind of person that are really wanted in general in the United States. People that are bringing jobs to the United States. And it's a special visa called an E2 visa, where the idea is you go to a consulate and you raise your hand. You say, I'm investing in this existing franchise brand that's proven. This is the investment that I'm making in the American economy. And then you receive a visa called an E2 visa. And I've never had anyone not approved, 100% approval rating on this. And it can be done for as little as $100,000 all in to invest in this company.
Interesting. So, thank you. Thank you for mentioning all that. I have follow-up questions. So, for someone who is a US resident, they may not need up to 100 to 125K because they will have access to loans. Is that correct?
That's correct. There are no guarantees, but if someone has great credit and a great job, there are different loan sources, including SBA loans in the United
Yeah.
States.
So what's the minimum down payment required, like in percentage? So you want to get a business of $1 million worth. How much are you expected to drop in cash as a US
So,
resident?
so if you buy a house, you typically need to put 20% down. Now, that's the same in the franchising world. If you buy a $1 million business, you must put $200,000 down. But some loan lenders allow you to only put 10% down. It all depends on your personal situation.
Hmm. Right. So I want to get it. I have I have a lot of questions.
Good.
I have a lot of questions, and I'm
And,
really
and I'm here
curious.
to answer them today.
Thank you. Now, are there two are there two different things like buying a business and franchising, are they two different things or they are the same thing?
So that's an amazing question. There, franchising is a business, right? Where you're buying a brand, right? McDonald's and a process, right? Hamburger University in exchange for money. This is a business that you're buying, right? There's a difference between a franchise business and a non-franchise business in that the franchise business has that process there, meaning you have this system and you have this brand name. If you bought just some sort of a hamburger, independent hamburger restaurant, then you wouldn't have that system and process and brand.
That explains it. Right. In your experience, which would you always recommend?
Well, look, it depends on the person, right? I mean, I have people coming to me all the time. And by the way, most of my placements are people that are buying a business from scratch, meaning it's a brand that's doing great in the United States, but they want to come to Houston, right? So they already have this network, but they need someone else to come to the Houston market. And sometimes people want to just buy an existing business, right? And if you can find that amazing unicorn,
Right.
that business for sale in the right location that has all this revenue and not overpay for it, I say good luck doing that. Now, the challenge is that many of my friends or connections that are looking to find that perfect business, they spend too much time finding the business and they can't find it because the owner is asking for too much money or there are too many people that are looking to invest in this business, including private equity. So
Hmm.
that's really, really hard.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a valid point. Okay. Nice conversation. Loving it so far. So if you are enjoying this conversation and you are learning from what Adam is saying, feel free to subscribe to this podcast and share with someone. You never know who's going to get help from this conversation. Okay, Adam, let's talk about money because this is business. What's the average period to break even in I think this question is very wide because I think it depends on industry and what you are doing. But what is the average break-even period and how much money do franchises make?
This is the question I guess all the time, right? How much money am I going to make and how long will it take? And I hate to give a just kind of not a great answer, but it really depends, right? It all depends on how good of an operator you are.
Hmm.
Um, and look, what I can tell you is successful franchisees do great. My friend in Houston owns 35 locations of a
Wow.
salon suite. It's a scalable business. He's doing well in a store per location, right? That's great. That's wonderful. I have friends that are successful as multi-unit owners. If you want to be successful, typically, I don't care what business it is, you need to be able to scale that business. And scaling might mean having additional territory or additional units. If it's a brick and mortar business, think Orange Theory Fitness. You probably, once you have one studio that's doing great, you need to open up a second studio. Or even if it's a service company like an air conditioning place. You mentioned that Houston's a very hot place.
Yeah.
I'm spending a lot of money to replace my air conditioning today at my house.
Hmm.
It's not a nice to have; it's a need to have. You can expand quite efficiently an air conditioning company by servicing additional houses with additional trucks. So it's a lot easier sometimes to expand service companies. So don't mean to give you a non-answer, but it just all depends on. And the goal that I have in my business is to make good matches to allow people to make as much money as possible and to expand the business if that's what they're looking to do.
Yeah. I like it. I like your response. Not so because it's hard to tell, right? It's really hard to tell. But I also have follow-up questions. You mentioned location as part of as one of the factors that determines how successful your business will become. So apart from location, are there any other factors that people should take note of when trying to go into franchising or buying a business?
So, look, let's talk specifically about franchising, Paul. When I started my brand in 2010, one of my mentors gave me very good advice that I'd like to pass on to your audience, and that's follow the model, right? When you're buying into a franchise, you're getting all these years of wisdom and it really makes sense for you to follow that wisdom. And you can find that, and it's not only from the head office. I talk to my candidates after they invest, and my successful candidates tell me that they were blown away at the value that they can get from other franchisees in the network.
Hmm.
Things like the McFlurry or the Egg McMuffin were actually created by other McDonald's franchisees, and those that embrace the other franchise owners in the system get a lot of value from that.
Awesome. I stumbled on something about the amount of money that will be transferred to the next generation, and I think I saw that from Knight Frank Consultancy. They were talking about how $90 trillion in wealth will be transferred to millennials and maybe some Gen Zs because baby boomers have a lot of money and they are at that age that they are retiring. I think about 11,000 people in the US are turning 65 every day. So, what that tells me is there's a lot of opportunity in that space, especially for small business owners who have built businesses and are about to retire. Are there any specific business that you've seen that is common with people of that age? Like I'm talking about the 60s and above. Is there any particular business that you think they've really dominated and there's an opportunity in that space for the next generation to look into?
So I'm going to give you a curveball here. That's what we call it in American baseball. I actually think I'm very excited about that trend you're talking about. And what I mean by that is that the fact that baby boomers are getting older, we call it in franchising a silver tsunami.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, the opportunity in franchising isn't necessarily where, oh my gosh, you have all these people that are turning a certain age and they're retiring and they want to give this business to their kids and they're not able to actually inherit because they don't want to run this business. It's more about providing services for people at that age group. So one
Hmm.
of the most popular industries that I have are things related to seniors, things such as mobility for seniors or senior care, right? In-home care for people that are elderly. That's a great business that's not going anywhere.
That's a very interesting point because the last person I spoke to about this was also talking about the silver tsunami. In his case, he was recommending luxury senior living, which he said is a gold mine in the real estate industry. So I'm glad that you also touched on that point, talking about not just thinking about how to inherit or buy those businesses, but provide services for these people because they are actually in need of those services. Okay, great. So this has been a very insightful conversation. I still have a lot of questions for you, Adam. But I want to go back to the E2 visa
Yep.
that you mentioned. You sounded like, of course, you've been helping people to do that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What are the top mistakes that you've seen when working with clients applying for E2 visa?
Well, I would say that I don't see many mistakes. I think a lot of people think it's too good to be true. They're like, wait a
Hmm.
second here, let's backtrack. I live in Canada and I really want to come to the United States. I want a better life for my family. I want my kids. I'm not happy with the weather in Canada. Maybe I don't want to go to Houston because it might be too hot, but maybe I want to go to Dallas or somewhere else. And I just really want the United States. I want opportunity. I want my wife to be able to work. Adam, I can't believe this, that this is 100, like, it's just kind of a shock. I think it's one of the best kept secrets in immigration or just in general. I mean, if I lived in Canada and I wanted to come to the US, this is a no-brainer for me.
Hmm. Okay. So can you walk us through the process from that E2 visa? So I come to the US with E2 visa. At what point do I become a green card holder or do I become a citizen? What is the process like?
So look, the E2 is not a direct pathway to becoming a citizen, right?
Okay.
It's more of a way to get here and
Okay.
then to figure it out from there. And it might be getting that green card through your spouse, right? It might be getting another way, but it's kind of a way to kind of set roots and be on the ground. And look, an E2 visa might actually be your long-term solution. I mean, I have people that have ties or grandkids or family in the United States, and they're tired of this visa every 30 days and coming back and forth. And this is the kind of thing where as long as your business is running, your E2 gets renewed every couple of years, depending on which country you're from. So it's not that one of the disadvantages of an E2 is it's not a direct path to citizenship per se, but it's a
Okay.
really easy way to come to the US for your family.
Interesting. So the E2 visa validity is dependent on the existence of your business,
The ongoing viability of your business, that's
of your
correct.
business. Okay. So can you use the same visa to go into new business? So let's say, for example, I get an E2 visa to buy a fast food. I start
Mhm.
that business and I develop interest in painting business. Do I need a new visa or the same E2 visa can allow me to expand into a different industry?
That's a great question, and I actually don't know the answer to that. No one's ever asked me that question, but I know plenty of attorneys that can answer that question for you.
Thank you. I appreciate your honesty. Okay. But I still have, I think I have two or three more questions before we call it
Sure,
a
of
day.
course. Of course.
Still on E2 visa. So have you found anyone that have you seen anyone that's been stuck after getting the E2 visa?
What do you mean by stuck?
Yeah, what I mean by being stuck is now I have my E2 visa, but I want to have my green card. So
I've never seen a situation where someone gets the E2 and they
you
can't get a green card
uh,
because of the E2. I've not seen that at all.
okay, sounds good. So if you want to learn more about E2 visa, if you are listening to me right now, Adam is still going to drop his contacts, email,
Yep.
and his website. He will be glad to guide you. So if it's part of your plans to move to the US through the E2 visa route, feel free to contact Adam Goldman. He's on LinkedIn and he's going to share his website and his email address shortly. So thank you, Adam. It's been a very insightful conversation. I've learned so much about E2 visa. It's not a kind of immigration pathway that I think is well known. Even for
Yep.
me, as vast as I think I am, I'm not really conversant with the E2 visa route. Okay.
I appreciate it, Paul. It's been very nice chatting with you.
Yeah. So on the last note, what would be I usually love to ask my guests this question, and I'm sorry you if it looks like I'm putting you on the spot. What is the most powerful piece of advice that you've ever received?
Let me think about this for a second here. So what I would say is that I think that the most powerful piece of advice I've ever heard, and I'm trying to remember where I got it from. It's I especially when it comes to career, right? My default is to just kind of find new things and to tweak with it and to do different things. And I don't even remember where I found it, but I read something really impactful that says, to put the analogy in, people say, hey, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right?
Hmm.
I think from a career point of view, it's really to kind of take all of your eggs and put it into one basket, right? Something that you're really good at and to protect that basket, right? To
Hmm.
kind of just go all in into whatever that is. And for me, that's been franchise consulting, right? And just to really be focused on this. Now I've been doing it for 9 years, this match. I love it. It's not easy, right? I'm here to kind of impact people and to talk to them. And I'm challenged all the time about finding the right companies to connect my candidates with, but this is really my focus. Whereas my natural inclination is to say, hey, let's try this or do this, but to really go all in into something, I think is a very good advice for someone to find what your unique talent is and to do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam. One final question is people that have failed in the franchising business, what is one thing or what are the things that you've observed that's prevented them from succeeding?
So I'm going to go back to what we said before. It's not following the model, right?
Hmm.
All of my candidates, I give them a silver bullet. as a gift when they start their franchise brand. I ask them to put it on their windowsill. It's actually a seated silver bullet, and it's a way for them to remind themselves that they're the silver bullet in their company. They're the deciding factor. The question is, have they done everything in their power? Have they called one more franchisee and asked them for advice?
Hmm.
Have they become best friends with the development team with the support team at the head office? That's the piece of advice, to follow the model and follow the process, and to realize you're the silver bullet and do everything in your power to make sure this thing works out.
Beautiful. Thank you. Right. So, thank you so much, Adam. It's been a very insightful conversation. And I just want to say thank you for what you are doing and for sharing all your knowledge on this podcast. Is
And,
there?
and thank you so much, Paul. And if anyone wants to find out more, I
Yeah.
do offer free 15-minute consultations. Go to franchiseadam.com or franchisecoach.net.
Okay. Franchisecoach.net. Okay. How about on
Actually,
LinkedIn?
three different websites, right? We have franchisecoach.net, franchiseadam.com, and franchisevisa.net.
Okay, there you go.
And
Fine.
on LinkedIn, Adam Goldman Franchise.
Okay, awesome. Final question. Can I own a franchise while having my regular 9 to 5? How much commitment do you think is required to succeed in your franchise business?
So for an E2 visa, you need to come in and to be doing this full time in the United States, right? Your spouse can have another job, but you need to be committing to this full time.
Okay.
If you are already an American citizen, then there are certain opportunities where you can run the business semi-absentee, meaning keeping your day job. That's possible, but keep in mind, typically you have to hire a manager, so that really affects your profit margin.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. Of course, you have to hire a manager, but even if you were there, you probably will need to pay yourself as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Adam. On this note, thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm sure you found this, I hope you find this insightful. If you enjoyed this conversation, feel free to share with someone, subscribe to the Thriving Immigrant Podcast, and let's build a thriving community one day at a time. Till I come your way again, stay thriving.